Okay, so picture this. November 2025. A visitor from deep space from another star system enters our solar system. We call it 3I/Atlas. Now, it was the third one of these we'd ever spotted, but this one was different. It just didn't follow the rules. And the deeper we looked, the more the evidence started pointing to a conclusion that is, frankly, as terrifying as it is fascinating. So let's follow this chain of evidence together, piece by startling piece.
Because after you really dig into Atlas, you have to face this profound new reality. The data is telling us one of two things. Either we are witnessing a chain of events that is so statistically impossible it's absurd, or we're looking at the first real, concrete evidence of a technological signature right here in our own backyard.
So, just to be clear, 3I Atlas is the third object we've confirmed came here from another star. The first two, Oumuamua and Borisov, they were super interesting, don't get me wrong, but they basically acted like you'd expect. Like rocks or comets, just tumbling through space. Atlas, though? Atlas behaves like an actor on a stage, hitting its marks perfectly.
Yeah, from its flight path to its chemical signature to its behavior. Atlas just defies any simple natural explanation. It forces us to ask a question that, until now, has really only belonged in science fiction. Are we looking at a rock, or are we looking at a probe? To even begin to answer that, we have to follow the evidence. We have to build a case piece by piece, just like an investigator would. And we're going to start with the very first anomaly, the thing that made astronomers sit up and go, wait a minute. And that's the highly unusual path it took to get here.
Right, so the first huge clue is its trajectory. Think about it. Our solar system is basically a flat disk, right? Like a vinyl record. But the space between stars is a giant three-dimensional sphere. So an object arriving at random should come from literally any direction, from above, from below, at some steep, weird angle. But that's not what Atlas did.
Get this, 0.2%. That is the probability. The chance of some random interstellar object just happening to enter our solar system and line up perfectly with that flat plane where all the planets orbit, the ecliptic, is just 0.2%. I mean, statistically, that's practically an impossibility. It's like a shot in the dark that hits a bullseye from light years away. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, that's what a random path should look like, a quick in-and-out flyby. But on the right, that's Atlas's path. It's the single most efficient trajectory you could possibly design for a reconnaissance mission. It allows for a grand tour, letting it observe Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, one after another. It's not acting like an object just passing through. It's acting like an observer that got into the same lane we're driving in.
All right, so if the trajectory wasn't weird enough, let's talk about the tail. Now, as soon as we saw a tail, the easy answer was, oh, it's a comet. But that's where the easy answers just stop. Because when you look closely at that tail, the physics completely falls apart. So, here's the fundamental problem. On the left, you see a normal comet's tail. It's like a windsock in the solar wind. It's always pushed away from the sun. But as you can see on the right, for a time, Atlas had what's being called an anti-tail, a jet pointing directly at the sun. It doesn't happen. It completely contradicts everything we know about how comets work.
So what on earth could cause this? Well, in physics, there's really only one logical explanation: a retrograde burn. It's like hitting the brakes. To slow down as you're heading toward the sun, you have to apply thrust in your direction of travel. In other words, you fire your engines at the sun. That anti-tail isn't gas boiling off of ice. It's the signature of a massive, deliberate braking maneuver.
And it gets weirder when you look at what that jet is made of. It had this strange blue glow, it was packed with ionized carbon monoxide, and it had almost no water, which is, the main ingredient for a comet. But here's the kicker. This exact chemical signature is a perfect match for the predicted exhaust of a nuclear thermal propulsion system. That's a theoretical engine that would use a nuclear reactor to superheat a propellant, like carbon monoxide. So the terrifying point is, we might not be seeing a dirty snowball vaporizing. We might be seeing the exhaust plume of a gigawatt-scale nuclear reactor.
Okay, so an impossible trajectory and what looks like an engine signature. That's already pretty startling. But the evidence doesn't stop there. The moment you stop thinking about Atlas as a random rock and start analyzing its behavior through a strategic, military lens, a very clear and chilling mission profile starts to emerge. What Atlas did is a textbook example of something called standoff reconnaissance. It never got closer than about 270 million kilometers to Earth. And that's not a random number. It appears to be a strategically perfect choice.
And what this does is create this totally one-sided situation, what's called an asymmetric observation advantage. So from where we are, even with our best telescopes, Atlas is just a blurry dot. We can't see its surface, we can't see its shape, nothing. It stays perfectly hidden. But from its perspective, looking at us, Earth is an open book. Any civilization that can travel between stars could easily analyze our atmosphere for life, see our city lights, and listen to our communications. They chose a distance that leaves us completely blind, while giving them total information superiority.
But wait, how could a huge object perform these maneuvers without us seeing a massive flash of energy? Well, the theory is it doesn't have to. The main Atlas object might just be a carrier, a mothership, and hidden inside its artificial tail, it could have released smaller, stealthy sub-probes. Those probes could then deploy even smaller scouts for close-up observation, drones that might look an awful lot like those Tic Tac UAPs that military pilots keep reporting.
It's the ultimate misdirection, right? A classic magic trick. While every telescope on Earth is pointed at the big, flashy, seemingly harmless object way out in space, the real operational parts, a whole swarm of silent probes, could be making their unobserved approach to Earth.
So if we even entertain the evidence pointing to a deliberate, strategic mission, we have to ask the final and most important question: why? Why come all this way? A mission on this scale requires an energy investment that is just beyond our comprehension. This isn't exploration for the sake of curiosity. This has to be about economics and survival.
And really, the motives boil down to three grim possibilities. 1. Colonization. Earth is a rare piece of cosmic real estate, and they're looking for a new home. In that case, we're just the current tenants. 2. Bioprospection. Our planet's incredibly complex biology, our DNA, our ecosystems, is a unique resource to be harvested. Or 3, and this is the darkest one, preventive suppression. They're an automated patrol enforcing the Great Filter by monitoring and, if necessary, neutralizing any emerging civilization, like us, before it can become a threat.
So when you stack it all up, the impossible trajectory, the engine signature, the standoff reconnaissance, and the very plausible, very high-stakes motives, you arrive at a pretty stunning conclusion.
Based on this whole chain of evidence, analysts have placed the probability that 3I/Atlas is artificial, that it is a piece of technology, at somewhere between 20 and 25%.
Let's be very clear, this is not a fringe theory anymore. A 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 chance is a significant probability. It's a number that compels us, scientifically, to take this seriously. It suggests that the continued silence from the object isn't proof that it's just a rock. Maybe it's proof of its supreme competence, because a visitor with intentions always stays in the shadows.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? As Atlas fades back into the black, we're left to wonder. Was its flyby the end of a very strange cosmic event, or was it the quiet, unnoticed beginning of a brand new chapter in human history? Was it just a passing stone, or was it something else entirely? The brief glint of a periscope scanning the horizon just before the real mission begins.